Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our October 11th, 2022 Board of County Commissioners meeting. I'd like to call our meeting to order. We have Pastor Dave Albers with us this morning from Redeemer Lutheran Church. If you'd all please rise, and we will follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, Pastor, good morning.
Good morning.
Lord God Almighty, you are the one that establishes all countries and all governments. And because we know that, then help us always be good stewards and caretakers of the good gifts that you give us, particularly here on the Treasure Coast and in particular in Martin County. We pray for our commission this morning and this afternoon as they meet all day to do county business. We pray for your direction and leadership, that they always see themselves as your servants. Lord, we thank you for the people that have come here for the meeting. We ask you to bless them and their particular concerns and joys if they're getting a recognition. Lord, we also pray that in our upcoming elections that the most servant-hearted people would be elected, whether it be on a local or a state or national level. Guide and direct them, Lord. I pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Easy, easy.
Yeah, I'll stay over here.
Oh, gosh.
That's because he's in high heels. You can't see him back
Much
here.
taller.
I pledge allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, you're not wearing yours?
No, I'll have an explanation when that time comes.
Okay.
So this morning, we will have, when we get through our agenda stuff, we will have our public comment at 9:05 or close to that point in time. We have an additional item this morning, consent item number 12, which is a request for approval for a proposal for a settlement by Martin County to Justin Industries, Inc. in the case in the case of Justin Industries versus Martin County, case number 2018-CA-638. Martin County Circuit Court. That's all that we have at this time. We have no consent agenda item pulled. Can we get a motion to accept the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'll move approval of the agenda with additional item consent number 12.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
All is opposed. Motion carries unanimously. We do have some public speaker forms this morning. The first speaker we have is Mary Stordinsky. Following that will be C.C. Schofield.
I'm doing proclamations.
Oh, was I supposed to do that first?
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
She can go ahead.
Let's do the proclamations first. I'm sorry. Do you mind? I try really hard to follow the order the way it is sort of on the sheet here, and then it just doesn't work that way. Okay, so we'll do proclamations. First we have up is Domestic Violence Awareness Month.
Good morning, Commissioners. Domestic violence transcends all ethnic, racial, and socioeconomic boundaries. Its perpetrators abuse their victims physically, mentally, emotionally, and economically, and the effects of their attacks are far-reaching. During October, recognized as Domestic Violence Awareness Month, the Board expresses sincere appreciation for those committed to preventing domestic violence in our community and encourages all residents to help work toward the elimination of domestic violence. And here to accept, we have the CEO of Safe Space, Dr. Teresa Albizu.
Here comes your shoes.
Good morning. Good morning, Commissioners and guests. My name is Dr. Teresa Albizu, and I am honored to serve as the Chief Executive Officer of Safe Space. On behalf of Safe Space, our board directors, our staff, and especially the many victims of domestic violence and their children whom we serve every year, we express our sincere appreciation to the Board County Commissioners for recognizing October as Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Here today representing Safe Space is Jessica Malasek, member of the board, Mike Lafreniere, member of the board, Claudia Hood, Outreach Advocate for Martin County, and Andrea Raffinan Schaefer, Development Manager. So I know that domestic violence has been a pandemic way before the COVID-19 outbreak, and the unfortunate reality is that the long-lasting effects of this public health issue brings with it severe consequences to victims of intimate partner violence, as well as adverse impacts to our families, our schools, our places of worship, our workplaces, social networks, and of course, our smallest and most vulnerable, our children. So allow me to share just the following, because I think numbers paint the best picture. In fiscal year 21-22, our hotline crisis advocates managed over 4,000 hotline crisis calls, representing an 18% increase over the prior year. During the same period, we served close to 200 victims and survivors of domestic abuse in Martin County, and we provided them with 3,100 nights of shelter. We served them with 105 legal services, and 362 survivors received education about financial empowerment. 1,200 children were served through our prevention and empowerment programs. In addition to the devastating effects that intimate partner violence has on victims, it is important to recognize the financial impact in our community. In 2020, the cost associated with domestic violence in Martin County alone was estimated at $15 million per year, and that includes law enforcement services, mental health care, medical care, lost wages and absenteeism, and loss of productivity in the workplace. So the impact of our work with victims and survivors of domestic violence, I think, is best exemplified in their own words. And I'd like to share a quote from a Martin County participant. I quote, "Dear Safe Space, from my soul, I thank you for your kindness and love. I hope each of you know the impact that you have on each person that comes here. I came here terrified and felt hopeless. I was shown only love by strangers. I will never forget what you've done, and my promise to all of you is to pay it forward. May God bless you all. May the universe bring you all greatness. From my heart, love and light." Close quote. So this exemplifies, commissioners, that in our estimation, once a participant, always a participant. These individuals that come for service at Safe Space may remain receiving support services in whatever area of life they need in order to transition to an independent life free from violence for as long as they need us, all free of cost to them. It could be months, it could be years, but we're here for them to walk them forward. So we want you to know that we're celebrating our 11th anniversary of the Walk a Mile in Her Shoes event this November 12th, along with the Martin Stewart Air Show, and we hope that you will come and join us and support this public display of help and support to our victims of domestic violence, that they know that they're not invisible, that they're not alone, that we're here to help them, and that this community really cares for them. So thank you so much, and we hope that you join us on November 12th.
This is for you.
Thank you so
I will
much.
hold my red shoe because
Please, go ahead.
probably all,
You're going to take a picture with your red
probably
shirt.
all know what happened last year, or maybe you don't.
The commissioners are coming down. Thank you so much.
No, but I had like 6 fractured bones in my foot after the airport.
Nobody told me about it.
I don't know anything
I am
about
not doing high heels, but the boys are.
it, but we've got red on at least.
Commissioners, let's go forward so that we can take a
Come on,
picture.
come on all over here. Sorry.
There we go. There you go.
Yeah.
For 10 years,
Doug was very good at
Thank you for joining us.
So last year, I broke 6 bones in the top of my foot of my sporting my red shoes. So I hung up my red shoe career.
2, 3. Thank you so very much.
Don and I are going to do a kick line.
Yes, we are. That's right. We're ready for it. Uh-huh.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I like yours.
If I can make it back up here.
Look at Dawn.
I need to firmly be planted on that.
You're doing pretty good in those, Dawn.
Looks like you're walking on
Get your shoes back from you.
Everybody's going to need a chiropractor visit today.
Yes, would you like the shoes back?
Yes. Okay, you're keeping them? Our next proclamation, Commissioners, is a proclamation declaring Veterans Day in Martin County, Florida. For more than 200 years, individuals from all walks of life have taken up arms and sworn an oath to support and defend the principles upon which our country was founded. November 11th is Veterans Day, and each year the board takes this opportunity to honor the contributions of current and former members of the U.S. Armed Forces, including the 18,000 veterans living in Martin County, whose service and sacrifices allow for the freedom and liberty we enjoy today. And here to accept, we have Dan McHenry, who is our Veteran Service Officer.
Yes, thank you, Commissioners. May I first say, for those of us sitting in the front row, thank you for not doing that kick line. We do appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a very distinguished guest here today to accept the proclamation, Mr. Robert Blackford. He is a World War II veteran. Mr. Blackford was born in Charleston, Illinois, and he enlisted in the United States Army Air Corps as an aviation cadet in 1943. From his earliest years, he was fascinated with flying. His uncle, a lieutenant commander, H.T. Blackford, was a flight instructor who first taught him how to fly. Mr. Blackford, at just 15 years old, took his first solo flight. It was in a Piper Cruiser single-engine aircraft. Upon enlistment, Robert wanted an assignment with the P-51 Mustang. I think everyone did at that time, right? Instead, he went through B-24 school and then went on to fly the brand-new B-29 Super Fortress. At that time, this four-engine propeller-driven bomber was the largest of World War II. This is the same aircraft that ended the war with the dropping of the atomic bombs. At the end of his enlistment, he went home to Illinois to study at the University of Illinois. He became an auto dealer and then came to Martin County as a real estate professional where he brokered many big deals, and some of you probably remember some of those. Most notable right here in Woodham Field, the 40 aircraft hangars. Yeah. Folks, if you can attend our Veterans Day Parade on the 11th, Mr. Robert is going to be our Grand Marshal, and sir, we thank you so much for your service.
Thank you. We came to Martin County back about 50 years ago, and we made some improvements. And I want to thank all of you for your efforts to make Martin County better, and especially Sarah. I've known her for many years, and we did the airport deal, and look at it now. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
Come over here with a quick picture.
How old is he?
How are you, sir? Awesome.
Mid.
Great. Come on over here.
There's not too many left.
You okay?
Bob, how nice to see you. It's been a long time. You look terrific. Thanks for coming. I look forward to seeing you with the friend.
Yes, I can.
Terrific. I didn't want to.
Dude, that was classy. And you know, for someone like that, it's a small thing for us, it's a big thing for them.
Yeah.
That'll be a definite. I got, if it goes that way, I got all sorts of tricks up my sleeve. How old is he?
That was one complex.
96. He's a kid.
29.
Was one of the first pressure accidents.
He spearheaded with America. I've known him for
That's his wife of 110 years.
You had to have your ship together to fly that.
Why that?
Good morning.
How much different flying lessons are in 1943 versus now everything's digital and.
Well, even when I was flying, it's completely different.
Yeah.
All the ground gauges and stuff, now it's all glass.
Everything's digital, yeah.
I'd be lost.
Never even got a shot.
I think
Take care.
Thank you.
little kind of like, yeah.
Okay, now we will go back to our public comment. Apologize for that little interruption, but it was all well worth it, I think. Mary Studinsky,
Other than that,
followed by C.C. Schofield, please. Good morning. Apologize for the interruption.
Problem. That was lovely. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, staff. My name is Mary Starzinski. In regard to Agenda Item PH2, I am in agreement with the local planning agency, which recommended that the commission reject the portion of the proposed ordinance that eliminates protection of native plants. This occurred after the Martin County chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society pointed out that the state law does not prohibit local governments from enforcing stricter standards to protect threatened species as required by our comp plan. I acknowledge that you're under a lot of stress from the state to do what you have to do, but this is something we don't have to do. Please do not approve this portion of the ordinance. To review the terminology, an endangered species of plant or animal is one which is very likely to become extinct soon. A native plant is defined as a species already here at the time of European contact. It's a simple definition and considers that earlier people brought edible and medicinal plants with them, but at a much lower rate because they were walking mostly and often across the Bering Strait during the Ice Age. Our native plants and animals co-evolved together. These plants act as a grocery store and are as essential for the survival of native insects, invertebrates, birds, and mammals. To survive, they need food, water, cover, and places to raise young, just like we do. They can't run out for a takeout, so we lose them if we don't protect their food source. Please do not approve this portion of the ordinance. Thank you for your service.
Thank you, ma'am. C.C. Schofield. Following Ms. Schofield is Diane Meyer. Diane Meyer.
Hi, good morning, Cecile Schofield. You might want to take a minute to review the pamphlet that I handed out before the meeting. Liquefied natural gas is 85 to 99% methane. In a spill or breach of a tank, the liquid boils, forming a flammable vapor cloud that is easily ignited. Heat radiated from an LNG fire can cause burns miles away, and LNG fires cannot be extinguished with water. In Fernley, Nevada, vapors leaking from a 10,000-gallon LNG tanker truck ignited into an intense fire. Flames shot 40 feet into the air and burned for almost 3 days. People within 1 mile were evacuated. On August 20th, 2014, the FDFC voted to be the conduit for private activity bonds for a high-speed passenger rail project proposed by Fortress Investment Group affiliate All Aboard Florida, now Brightline. On December 31st, 2014, 4 months later, another Fortress affiliate, American LNG Marketing, requested authorization from the Department of Energy to export LNG from a facility in the Hialeah Rail Yard, owned and operated by LNG Holdings, also a Fortress affiliate. 10,000-gallon ISO containers loaded with LNG would be transported by truck or rail to the ports of Miami, Everglades, Palm Beach, Jacksonville, and Canaveral. The DOE granted approval on March 18, 2015. The first export occurred on February 5, 2016, and rail transport began in 2017. In a quantitative risk analysis FECR provided to the FRA, numerous churches and schools were designated as potentially sensitive targets along the rail routes from Miami to ports of Miami and Everglades. The DOE authorized a company in Crystal River to export LNG from the port of Tampa. However, the port's principal counsel, Charles Klug, assured concerned citizens that the port had no plans with the company to export LNG. In 2017, Fortress Investment Group, parent of Florida East Coast Industries, was sold to SoftBank Japan, and Fortress sold FECR to Grupo Mexico. Grupo owns infrastructure and freight operations and has an agreement with FECI, owner of Brightline, to jointly operate the FECR rail corridor. Grupo and FECI created a joint venture for train dispatching. The FRA noted LNG rail transport poses unique challenges. Scheduling LNG trains traveling at top speed of 40 miles per hour while sharing tracks with 110 mile per hour passenger trains would be challenging. The Trump administration's LNG by rail rule will introduce unit trains comprised of 80 to 100.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Thank you, ma'am.
Creating a virtual
Ma'am.
natural gas pipeline.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Brightline could be on a virtual.
Diane Meyer, please.
with LNG.
Diane, please.
Thank you. Read the pamphlet.
Following Ms. Meyer is Tom Pine. Good morning.
Morning.
Diane Meyer, and I'm here to talk about Public Hearing 2, Article 4, the Florida Native Plant Society. Growth management and staff and local planning are completely wrong in wanting to change our comprehensive plan again to eliminate endangered and threatened native plants. Native plants can withstand drought, flood, and use a whole lot less water. The Commission's mission is to fight for Martin County, not fight for developers who want to bulldoze Martin County. I remember a week or two ago when a commissioner made a speech, if we do not go along with state guidelines, then developers can go to the state and overturn us. Well, first, let's interpret accurately what state guidelines are. When growth management tries to manipulate wording, that is really deceptive. Greg Braun, the president of Florida Native Plant Society, in Article 4, Standards of Martin County and Land Development Regulation, Protection of Threatened and Endangered Plants, states this: as you know, Chapter 9 of Martin County's Comprehensive Growth Management Plan has long required the protection of state-listed and federally listed threatened and endangered plants and animals. While adoption of the new state laws may apply in the future, we are not aware that the state's directive is that Martin County or municipalities that choose to exceed state guidelines amend the comprehensive plan and land development regulation to reduce existing levels of environmental protection. We believe that amending the county's land development regulation is a way to eliminate protection of endangered and threatened plants that are present in Martin County. I urge the commissioners to be stewards and guardians of our precious Martin County.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Pine, followed by, is it Susan Meal? Morning, Mr. Pine.
Morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name's Tom Pine. I've been a resident of Martin County for over 50 years. The definition of the consent agenda, according to Martin County government, these items are considered routine and are acted in one motion. Today in the consent agenda, $15,249,169.79 spent between September 12th and September 26th without identifying the payee or the purpose of the payments. How can the consent agenda vary by millions and millions of dollars, yet we're told these are routine payments? This is no less than the county's slush fund, where they do as they see fit with our tax dollars. On February 1st of this year, this commission redirected $2.5 million from the original $2.6 million from the American Rescue Plan for park improvements, using only $100,000 for its original purpose to help people pay rent or mortgages, utilities, and other housing needs. An assistant county administrator who came up with the scheme assured commissioners at the time that he will be bringing forward an affordable housing proposal in the future. We are still waiting, and its 552 days have passed already. On June 2nd of this year, at a joint meeting, one of our county commissioners gave a fiery speech on the problems of homelessness in Martin County, touching on several issues. He recommended the county form a committee to look into the problem, also stated that many constituents are opposed to using tax dollars for this problem. At the next county commission meeting, there was a discussion about setting up a committee. That was as far as it got. I believe our Martin County government is responsible for some of our homelessness and food insecurity because of their poor spending habits. spending millions and millions of our tax dollars on their dreams and wishes projects throughout the county. As our county government continues to drag their feet on this massive issue, I don't believe anything will change on our county level until it becomes critical. Critical, such as when scheduled for an operation at Cleveland Clinic, you get a call a couple days in advance informing you that you must supply someone to take care of all your personal needs while at the hospital. Our county government continues to bend over backwards to please the developers. They have done absolutely nothing to address the affordable housing issue that affects all of us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Meal? And that's the last public speaker form I have for just general public comment.
Good morning and thank you. My name is Susan Meal and I'm with the Alliance for Safe Trains. And as you all probably know, they're going to be testing in your neighborhood soon. I'm here to remind everyone in the county, particularly you all, that there are no trains currently operating in this country over 79 miles per hour across many grade crossings and through open stretches of track. There are none. This will be the first location to have trains going 79 to 110 miles an hour without the necessary fencing and over 130 grade crossings in the four-county area. On our website, Florida Safe Trains, you can see a number of locations, particularly in this county, where there is no fencing and it's open track. And that includes Hobe Sound Boys and Girls Club, Stewart Youth Park, and the Tequesta County Park. There are many locations like this throughout the region. We know that this county decided to forego pursuing an additional lawsuit in exchange for financial and safety incentives. So I'm here today to say, where is your extra fencing going that you've been promised? When is it going to be installed? And how much are the taxpayers going to pay for the continued upkeep and maintenance of that fencing? The experts have said we need more fencing. The experts have said we need bridges for pedestrians to cross because the experts said there were far too many people in this region and they would be killed crossing the tracks, as they have for generations. The experts said they should not be building high-speed trains here. The experts said it will always run over budget, it'll take more time than they suggest, and it will always lose money. So what questions are you asking for your constituents? I suggest that everyone go to our website, floridasafetrains.com, and sign our petition, which asks the governor and the Department of Transportation in Florida to do three things. It says study the dangers, from LNG sharing tracks with 110-mile-an-hour trains, to the power plant in Fort Pierce, to all of the issues and the locations like those in Stewart. Study the dangers, have experts do it, because right now, Florida Department of Transportation has no experts that have ever regulated trains going over 79 miles an hour. And in fact, one consulting group said there are no regulations in Florida for trains going over 79 miles an hour. The next thing is to create a task force so that all of you and all of your constituents can start getting answers to these questions. And the other is
Ma'am, your time is up.
110 miles an hour.
Your time is up.
So they can assure you
Ma'am.
your constituents
So-
will be safe.
Your time is up.
That was our last public speaker. Ms. Bausch, I have you for public hearing item number 2. I assume you want to speak during the public hearing? That's what I mean, during the hearing, the agenda item. Okay? Anybody else from the public wish to comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll come back to the commission for commission comments. Commissioner Jenkins?
I'm good for now, thank you.
Commissioner Heatherington?
I'm all set for now, thanks.
Commissioner Campy?
I'm all set.
Commissioner Hurd?
Set.
Okay, I am as well. Mr. Donaldson, you have anything for us this morning?
No, sir.
Ms. Woods? Okay. So the first item on the agenda is board and committee appointments. We have our voting sheets passed in. Donna?
Donna Gordon for administration. I've asked that you appoint 2 people to the Affordable Housing Advisory Committee, and Mr. William Flanagan received 3 votes. Dr. Tina White received 4 votes.
Commissioners, we need a motion.
Move to appoint Mr. Flanagan and Dr. White.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Our first public hearing this morning is public hearing item number 1, public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance providing regulations for the anchoring and mooring of vessels within the Manatee Pocket mooring field. Good morning, Ms. Fitzpatrick.
Good morning. Kathy Fitzpatrick, coastal engineer for the record. I'm very happy to be here today to continue our progress towards establishing the mooring field in Manatee Pocket. I'm going to go ahead and read the executive summary and then run through the highlights of the management plan, which you have in your agenda packet, and then if there's any questions, we can go through that. So this is a public hearing to consider the adoption of an ordinance amending Article 1, Anchoring and Mooring, Chapter 8, Regulation of Mooring Fields, General Ordinances, Martin County Code, to provide regulations for the anchoring and mooring of vessels in Manatee Pocket mooring field. Adoption of the ordinance is necessary to satisfy permit conditions requiring the county to obtain a permit from the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission for buoy placement and associated information regulatory waterway markers prior to the commencement of construction. So this ordinance for Manatee Pocket mooring field, as Ed said, is required by the state permit. This ordinance, in conjunction with the boundary markers that are currently marking the limits of the mooring field, will establish the legal limits and the regulatory area for the field. The ordinance will incorporate the Manatee Pocket management plan, and this is the same process for you, those of you who were here, that we went through as we established the Jensen Beach mooring field. The management plan establishes the rules and regulations for the operation and use of the Manatee Pocket mooring field. It applies to any person or vessel entering the marked boundaries of the mooring field. As we continue with the construction associated with the mooring field, the ordinance will give the county an increased ability to manage and control vessels entering or maintaining a presence within the field. Just as a reminder, the mooring field has 42 moorings and a dinghy dock that are being constructed by the county as we speak. The management, which is currently under negotiations, will provide the upland support facilities and run the day-to-day activities in the mooring field. Incoming vessels will be assigned a buoy and instructed as to the method of securing the vessel to the buoy. Only fully operational vessels in good condition that are fully registered or documented will be allowed in the field. Liveaboards, which are defined by the state as vessels on a mooring that are inhabited for either 5 consecutive days or 10 days within a 30-day period, are limited to a maximum of a 6-month stay within any 12-month period. And all moorings are available on a first-come, first-served basis. The management plan also prohibits illegal activity, including improper discharge of waste, cleaning fluids, petroleum products, and trash into the waterway, and it requires proof of regular pump-out by vessels with overnight occupancy, and that pump-out has to be at a minimum every 7 days, which coincides with the cycle of MS poop. It prohibits certain activities, including major repairs, commercial activities, and disruptive behavior. Customers will be educated on the protection of wildlife, including manatees, and the prohibition of feeding wildlife, especially birds and other endangered species. Customers will also be informed as to the rules, expected conduct, protection of valuable submerged resources and aquatic species, the proper navigation through the mooring field, and local options for pump-out and trash management. And the harbor is authorized to conduct periodic vessel inspections to ensure compliance with all of these regulations. Failure to comply with the plan constitutes a violation of the ordinance and will be ground for ejection from the mooring field and other legal actions deemed appropriate. Additionally, it states that the county will pursue removal of unattended or abandoned vessels according to Florida statutes and will maintain a maritime lien against vessels for any unpaid fees or damages. The harbor master has authority to prevent departure of a vessel that has a delinquent balance. In the case of an impending tropical storm or hurricane, the tenants are advised to vacate the moorings and can be charged for damage to the mooring systems if they elect to stay. So the intent of these regulations is to provide a safe and secure mooring location that is attractive to boaters who will then contribute to the local economy. These regulations also serve to educate clients on the importance of our aquatic ecosystems and the need to protect them. And finally, this will give the county the tools necessary to protect against water quality degradation and continue the restoration of our county's estuaries and marine environment. And that concludes my report.
Very good. Commissioners, any questions for Ms. Fitzpatrick on the Port Salerno mooring field? Anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? This is a public hearing. Seeing none, we'll come back to the board. Commissioner Hurd?
Yeah, I will gladly support adopting the proposed ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Kathy, timing on all this?
Well, as I mentioned, the management is under negotiations that are progressing, I think we can say are progressing well. We have already installed all of the anchors for the 42 moorings, and the rest of the buoy assemblies are stored, so that's a pretty short order. Last commission meeting, you authorized the issuance of the contract for the construction of the dinghy dock. So right now, we're waiting for that paperwork to be finalized so we can actually execute the contract and issue the notice to proceed. All that being said, since I won't be here and you can't hold me to it, I would say the beginning of the calendar year.
Nice.
Well, that was going to be the next question. Are we squeezing anything in like this meeting with you? Is this?
Oh, no, you'll see me again.
Oh,
I am hopeful that I will be back at the November 15th meeting with a contract for management of the mooring field. We're working on
just wanted to know if we were
that. No.
not going to have your presentations anymore.
Not yet.
Not yet. You're holding out.
Holding out.
All right. Commissioners, we have a motion, we have a second for the long-awaited mooring field in Port Salerno. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Motion carries unanimously. Kathy, thank you for all of your efforts in all these years, and I guess we'll get to do that at least once or twice more.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is item public hearing number 2, public hearing to consider adoption of an ordinance amending Article 3 zoning districts, Article 4 site development standards, and Article 12 community redevelopment codes, land development regulations, Martin County codes. Mr. Doolin. Good morning.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Clyde Doolin. I'm the Comprehensive Planning Administrator. With me is Darrell DeLue, Environmental Planning Administrator.
Good morning.
Good morning, Darrell.
So we've got changes to a few sections of the code, the land development regulations. This is not an amendment to the comprehensive plan. So let's start off with, we're proposing changes to Article 3 that deal with home-based businesses. Florida statutes have recently been adopted that prohibit local governments from regulating the commercial activity that is considered home-based business. They've created their own section of statute, 559, and the proposed change that we're discussing here today would affect both Article 3, which affects your unincorporated Martin County outside of the CRAs, and Article 12, which affects your CRAs. And so basically, the home-based business language is being stricken and replaced with a reference to Chapter 559 of Florida statutes. That's pretty simple. While we were looking at this language, it's an accessory use. We also went in and made some recommended changes to clarify that the home-based business or these accessory uses like home-based businesses are applicable in zoning districts like the commercial office residential 1 and 2 and so on like that, where commercial uses are permitted and residential uses are permitted. Presently, your Core 1, Core 2 zoning districts are not permitting some of these accessory uses because it specifically goes by a zoning district. So that's just a clarification. That's not a subject of preemption by state statute. Most of the changes we're talking about here are changes driven by state statutory changes. I'm going to scroll down to the text to show you what I was just talking about. We replaced, instead of saying all, in all, and then going on with this list of zoning districts, these specific zoning districts, we recrafted it to talk about Category A, B, and C districts shall permit the following as an accessory to residential uses. So if you're allowed a residential use in something like a commercial office residential 1 or commercial office residential 2, then it's clearly allowed and not being prohibited from that. That's the language that's clarifying. This is the language that's being stricken about home occupations. We replace it with the reference to 559, and we propose striking 1 through 10 in both this section of Article 3 and in the exact same text shown in Article 12. So that is the first subject of home-based businesses or home occupation licenses. The second subject that we'd like to discuss with you are proposed changes to Article 3 dealing with mobile food dispensing vehicles. We've added this to this section 3.209 where we deal with seasonal sales, peddlers, and itinerant merchants. Because the state of Florida has created this definition, and we've included that definition here as underlined text defining what a mobile food dispensing vehicle is. And then we've proposed changes through this text that distinguish between mobile food dispensing vehicles and other such activities like itinerant merchants, yard sales, and so on like that. The state statute does not prohibit Martin County from regulating mobile food dispensing vehicles. So Martin County can regulate where they are allowed to set up and where they're allowed to operate. They can't be in the county right away. They'll still be required to be in a commercial location as they've been required in the past. But these changes simply separate that particular use, define it, and distinguish between it and other activities like itinerant merchants and seasonal sales. And so you see we strike some language, but then we replace with a more clear breakdown between places of worship, community centers, itinerant merchants, and mobile food dispensing vehicles, so that we're recognizing this difference that is required by state statute. The next proposed change to Article 3 of the Land Development Regulations deals with Category C zoning districts. This is not driven by any change in state statute. This is something that staff has identified as a need for more clarification. Presently, there is an exception that permits when your lot is reduced in size because of a government purchase of right-of-way or something else like that, and suddenly if you have a minimum 5-acre lot and it's now 4.5 acres or 4.7 acres or something like that, there's a remedy, there's a recognition in the land development regulations that allows that lot to be considered a useful and developable lot, but that exception is not available to what we call Category C zoning districts, the old zoning districts that from the 1967 zoning code. So 3.401B is proposing to add an exception in the discussion of categories in the section of the code that deals with Category C zoning districts. So, whoops. Nope, that's the wrong section. 3.401A references the portion of the code that allows zoning districts, that allows lot sizes reduced for public purposes to be developed in compliance with the same code requirements as any other zoning district. The other exception or the other change that's proposed in this section of code deals with Category C zoning districts and covenants. As you may know, in the 1980s and the 1990s, there were a number of pieces of property developed where a covenant was used instead of rezoning the property to the appropriate zoning district consistent with the comprehensive growth management plan. That was a policy that was, I think, used to get over a difficult time. However, it's created a situation where those properties that were developed under that covenant are now coming back in to redevelop. And there's an ambiguity as to what applies. The development under the covenant that may have occurred in the 80s or the 90s, or whether it should be rezoned as the rest of our codes requires. And this is making clear that anything that was developed previously under a covenant that doesn't have a zoning district consistent with the comp plan shall be rezoned, consistent with the comprehensive growth management plan. So these two changes about the lots that are reduced for a public purpose and the covenants are not driven by the state statute, but they are clarifications your staff recommends strongly. So I'll skip discussing Article 12 because I think I covered that already, and I'll turn this over to Mr. DeLue, and he can talk about protected plant and animal species.
Good morning. Part 4 of the draft ordinance is proposing changes to the definition of protected species found in the land development regulations. In 2013, the definition of protected species was amended in the LDR to include a reference to threatened, endangered, or commercially exploited plant species as listed by the Florida Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services, or FDACS. This state agency is not referenced in the comp plan, unlike the Florida and U.S. Fish and Wildlife agencies, which are. In 2013, language was also added to the LDR to require that individual protected plant species on a development site where land clearing will occur shall be relocated, where feasible, into an on-site preserve area or conservation land. The plants listed by FDACS are referred to as the Regulated Plant Index in Florida statutes. This list was created to protect plants from being illegally harvested without a property owner's consent. And Clyde, can you go to page 203?
Sure.
So, and scroll down. So item 12 there is right out of Florida statutes. So Florida statutes mandate how the regulated plant index may be used. And as you can read here, the regulated plant index is to be used solely to restrict unlawful harvesting of native flora without the authorization of a landowner. The regulated plant index is not to be used to regulate construction or other land alteration activities on any property, which includes land clearing. Clyde, can you go to page 213, please? And scroll down. So these are the changes proposed here. We are striking reference to candidate and proposed species from the definition, as these species are not yet listed and therefore aren't protected by the Endangered Species Act. And as you can see further down, keep going. No, up, sorry, yeah. Let me just grab the mouse. So we are not removing the reference to FDACS. So as you can see, we're leaving that reference in the definition of protected species because that is a good list of threatened and endangered plant species that expands upon the federal list. We want to be able to use that list to consider for protection and preservation areas that are required to be set aside when we do preserve areas in a development site. As you can see, we are striking the reference to commercially exploited plants. And we are striking that reference as these species aren't necessarily endangered. The state protects them from illegal harvesting. An example is saw palmetto, a common native species found throughout Martin County that is harvested for its berries. And the state has a process for permitting that activity. And then lastly, this section here was added also in 2013, item number 5. We're proposing a minor amendment to section 4.35D to mirror language found in the comp plan. And that's This portion here, that's directly out of the comp plan where we do it in accordance with state. It actually says state, local, and federal regulations. And we are also adding that last sentence to item 5 to repeat the language found in Florida statutes for how the FDACS plant list may be used. That's the end of.
That concludes the staff presentation, except to note that the local planning agency recommended approval. They voted 3-0 to recommend approval of the changes to Article 3 and Article 12, and they excluded the proposed changes to Article 4 from their recommendation.
Mr. Doolin, Mr. DeLu, thank you. I don't see any lights on just yet, so we have one public speaker that wishes to, oops, I'm sorry, Harold, do you want to?
No, go ahead, let her go.
Ms. Bausch, please. Anybody else wish to speak on this item, please get a form to the bailiff. Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm here today, I'm Joan Bausch, here today to represent the chapter, Martin County chapter of the Florida Native Plant Society, because our president, Greg Braun, is out of town and unable to be here. I was trying very hard to get my head around this thing. I read Chapter 9, all this stuff, and I'm wondering that our major concern is losing protections for our rare and threatened plants. I did not have access to this particular changes that were being proposed, so I don't have any words to say about what you've said here. Mainly what we need to know is that our comprehensive plan in Chapter 9 has laid out protections from its early days, and it has not hampered plants. Plants have been protected within a PAMP, and that keeps Martin County unique. As you know, that we're just off the Gulf Stream here, and so we have coastal plants, we have tropical plants here that we wouldn't have normally. But the Gulf Stream helps us have some very interesting plants here, and we would rather not have them overrun. So we have chosen to exceed the state's regulations for protecting our plants. So I have many questions of why the state would do this to us at the last minute, more or less last minute. Why would they tell us we can't use the regulated plant index? But we do know that what plants are threatened, and we do know which are endangered. So I would urge you to keep that strong as you can without conceding to those issues. When a person comes in to get a development, they want to take down whatever's growing in there. Do we not want to have a chance to look and see what's there before they take it out? So I wish I had seen this proposal earlier on, but as Greg has said, that all that this had said to us was that we can't use the index. They designated use of the plant index. It doesn't say that we can't protect our unique, special, rare, threatened, and endangered native plants. So I'd like to know how we are going to do that. And I have not seen that spelled out. Unfortunately, I did not see this paper. So as member, FNPS has got a mission to preserve, conserve, and restore native plant and native plant communities in Florida. So we'd ask you to please save.
Ms. Bausch, thank you. Okay, back to our staff, Commissioner, or back to our commission, Commissioner Jenkins.
This one gives me angst, obviously. I spent my career doing mitigation work on different sites. Don't normally do commercial work, but I do a lot of FPL stuff. So we did a thing up in Vero where they were doing a storage facility, and we moved hundreds of trees for their future use for the thing. So this doesn't, my comment necessarily doesn't have to say with this. I've talked to Clyde and Peter Paul and Mary, and
Daryl.
yeah, Ed, Don, and Daryl. This is a perfect example of us being preempted, the public not really being clear on it, and I would like to see and I know it's a huge amount of work and you're very, very busy, but a agenda item that goes back, I think you said 2011 was when we first started really feeling the brunts of being preempted by the state. Wouldn't you? Anyway, that's just.
Yes.
Okay. So an agenda item of every preemption that we've had and that we're restricted to. And maybe some attention would be more focused on Tallahassee rather than us. I mean, we get every agenda item, we get somebody angry with us of something that we cannot control. So why don't we do I don't care how long it takes, to do a thorough job of doing an agenda item, going through every item that we've been preempted since 2011. And I think it would be hugely beneficial to the people that are actually paying attention to what we're doing up here, or what we're trying to do up here. Right? Because this is, I get it. I'm a plant guy. I'm a tree hugger. So anyway, that's the end of my thing. I would like your support in maybe directing staff to eventually come up with something like that. I just think it's important.
So I think just as a quick response to that ask, it's probably a lot simpler than what you might imagine. I'm fairly certain that the Association of Counties, we track every single one of those and have for years. We have a special committee to deal with preemption now that we started last year. But we've been documenting and dealing with preemption for, as you said, for years. So my guess is that a request of put into the Association of Counties should be able to generate that list for you probably pretty directly. Yes. Ms.
Yeah,
Elder.
Elise Elder, Senior Assistant County Attorney. There is a list on FAC online that does address a lot of the preemptions, and based on our conversation, I started making a list, so I don't think it's that monumental to put that together.
Okay. I just think we could publicize this agenda item to where people will actually either come or tune in and get a better understanding. And because it's frustrating talking to somebody that, I get it, but I can't do anything about it. And most people think that we can wave a magic wand up here and do anything we want. And we need to, I just think it would help some future conversations that I'm having with my constituents. So anyway, that's it.
And future legislative sessions, quite honestly. Commissioner Hurd.
Yeah, my difficulty with this is the contradictions between parts that we're leaving and parts that we're adding. I'm looking on page 213, and I see there that we do include protections for FDACS species, which, as Mr. DeLue said, are far more extensive than the federal exemptions, the federal species listed. But then it's confusing to me because on the next page, number 5 adds plants listed by FDACS on the state's regulated plant index shall not be part of this requirement, as this list is not to be used to regulate construction or other land alteration activities on any property. We know that's part of state statutes. It's in there. We can read that. So just don't add, from my perspective, strike that last sentence in number 5.
That was the suggestion. If we do strike that last sentence, we're still governed by a Florida statute, and we would not be able to use the regulated plant index in our development review, so it would have the same meaning. So technically, you can strike that last sentence, but it would still be applicable, and we'd still have to follow Florida statutes.
But still, we would have the confidence that we are going to, and as we state on section 4.31C in the glossary, we still have the protections for the FDACS species.
Correct, and we still would use those for development review. We would use those as a consideration when we're trying to find the best habitat to set aside based on those plants. And that's how we've been protecting listed species since '82.
It's just the additional sentence in number 5 just makes it sound like we're not going to protect the FTAC species, and I don't want anyone to think that we're not going to.
We kind of deliberated over leaving that or adding that as well, so.
And I think we decided to leave it just because it makes it clearer for people who are reading our land development regulations, because they're not going to have the benefit of knowing the existence of that statute. So just to clarify it, we put that sentence in there, but if the board chose to take it out, it would have the same meaning, honestly, because we still have to comply with state regulations, and this Florida statute is a state regulation.
Then I would move adoption of these changes with the exception of number 5, and that's the last sentence. Plants listed by FDACS on the state's regulated plant index shall not be part of this requirement, as this list is not to be used to regulate construction or other land alteration activities on any property.
Second.
So just curious, at least on the unintended consequences of that, what happens if people don't read it, see it, understand it?
Well, then we might get additional letters from organizations or individuals when they see development review applications come before the county and request that, audits of plants be done and requirements of plants be moved from the development area to the preserve area. We wouldn't be able to require developers or applicants to do that. So it might cause confusion from that aspect where members of the public don't understand that we can't do that based on Florida law. This just clarifies it. So it's clear when someone reads our regulations that that's prohibited. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I'm just trying to.
I hear you.
Understand. Yeah. In so many places in our ordinances and LDRs, we add language that's said somewhere else to make sure that people see something, and that's controversial whether we should or shouldn't do that, and so.
I mean, we could take the approach like we did for the, I think it was the home-based business, and put the statutory reference in there, if that would be more acceptable to the board, and not have the specific sentence in there, but we would refer that, I don't know the language off the top of my head, but something to the effect that we would use the regulated plant index in accordance with Florida statutes 581, 185, or something to that effect, and then it's not as direct, but at least people will know where to look. I know that's another whole alternative, but.
This may be a more simple question. You as staff dealing with this, what makes your reviews, what makes your process better? Or, Paul? I mean, I'm just, if we're going to put something or not put something, you are the guys who deal with this on a daily basis. What makes your review process or directive process more succinct, I guess, if you will?
Good morning, Commissioners. Paul Schilling, Growth Management Director. As far as the conversation goes, of course, when anything is in black and white, it's easier to interpret rather than to go to another document, as we sometimes find ourselves with the comp plan and LDRs and having to cross-reference things. This is abundantly clear that we are preempted by the state, so there is a lot to be said for that. When we get these inquiries on projects, and sometimes we have dozens, if not 100 of them, it's easier to show someone something than explain to them that we're preempted by the state. And some people may not necessarily agree that that's the case. So if it is in the document, it's certainly easier to get the facts out there for the public to understand.
And so between.
I withdraw my second.
And in the spirit of all of this, between Ms. Elder and Paul, Darrell, whoever, is there something is there something language that you would rather see, or are you comfortable with what's there?
I think from staff's perspective, we evaluated everything, and that's the language we think would be best for the public. Of course, it's at the board's discretion, but that's what we think is the clearest approach for this issue.
What do y'all want to do? You withdrew? Commissioner Campy?
I've
heard both sides of it, and I understand what Commissioner Hurd is saying, that we don't want to look like we are, locally at least, necessarily sort of embracing that language that doesn't offer our residents that level of protection. However, I feel by eliminating the written words here in number 5 doesn't make it go away. I think our job, and what I request we all do of staff, is to make it, that there's clarity in the language. Confusing a future applicant doesn't protect these plants anymore, whether this language is here or not. It just makes the job more difficult. It makes it unclear for an applicant or a resident. It makes it more difficult, as we heard from our professional staff that said, well, then if it's not here, we'll just have to then explain to them. And some people are, either on their own or reviewing it with paid professionals that get paid hundreds of dollars an hour to review this. To make it less clear doesn't protect those plants anymore. So although we don't like this language, I like what Commissioner Jenkins said, because the frustration for all of us, and a lot of people that I deal with, our constituents, have no idea the definition of preemption, have no idea that it starts at the federal level, decides at the highest what the states can do, and then the states decide what the counties can do, and and it works its way down. That's the frustration that all of us that work at this local level, which is the closest level to our constituents, have to deal with. And so today it's about what we would want here locally to protect all plants, and then also for an applicant on how they would need to do that to protect it. Tomorrow it's about nautical or aviation or transportation or recreate. It could be on any of those things. Today it's about this. So I don't know, even though when Commissioner Hurd made the motion, I was like, fine. If staff was sort of deciding if it should stay or not, then if eliminating it meant that we were stating our case more clearly, I like it. But if eliminating it just creates future confusion, and it doesn't benefit our Native Plant Society folks or protect our native plants anymore because, oh, by the way, you still can't do it, then I would list it and make it as clear as possible. By eliminating it, we don't protect the plants anymore. We just make it more confusing. I'd make it a motion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and we have a second. Staff is all clear on what is, what isn't, right?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion from the board? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All is opposed?
Opposed?
Motion carries 4-1 with Commissioner Hurd dissenting.
Thank you.
Thank you, staff, for that. Thank you, Tallahassee.
Thank you, members of the board.
Next item on the agenda before our break will be a public hearing, quasi-judicial item number 1, request for final site plan approval by Old Kansas Avenue LLC. Mr. Elam, good morning. Welcome back. This is quasi-judicial. Commissioner Jenkins, do you have any ex parte?
I don't believe I do, but if I do, they've been filed.
Commissioner Heatherington?
I don't believe I do either, if so, they've been filed.
Commissioner Campy?
I don't have any.
Commissioner Hurd?
I don't have any, and they've been filed.
If I do, they are filed. Do we have any witnesses to be sworn in? If you'd all please stand if you're going to testify.
Raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Very good. Mr. Elam, do you have your work history to give us in the form of a tree? How appropriate following a native plant conversation?
That's probably not printed on Native Exhibit 1.
There's no prohibition against it now.
We have no interveners, correct?
No interveners.
I think, do I have everything?
Just the notice when the applicant comes up.
Morris, do you have notice with you?
The proof of notice to running property owners was turned in during the LPA meeting.
Fantastic, thank you. All right, Mr. Elam, please proceed.
Morning, Chairman, Commissioners, Mr. Donaldson, Mrs. Woods.
This is a request by Old Kansas Avenue LLC for a major final site plan approval to construct an outdoor storage yard for storing construction vehicles and equipment along with required infrastructure on an approximate 4.7 acre parcel of land that is vacant of development and is located at 8211 Southwest Old Kansas Avenue in Stewart. Included with this application is a request for a certificate of public facilities reservation. Here's the aerial shot of the site. It's providing 34% open space, which exceeds the 20% requirement. Has general industrial district zoning and industrial future land use. This is the site plan. Site totals 4.68 acres with a proposed 3.08 acre stabilized storage yard, 1.08 acre landscaped area surrounding the perimeter of the property, 0.22 acres of undisturbed upland, and 0.3 acre retention area. This application went before the LPA on September 15th and was unanimously approved to accept staff's recommendation of approval. There have been no inquiries, to my knowledge, in relation to this development by surrounding property owners or the public. Development review staff have reviewed the application by Old Kansas Avenue LLC and found it to be in compliance with all applicable regulations and the comprehensive growth management plan. As detailed in the attached staff report, staff recommends the board move to receive and file the agenda item and staff report as Exhibit 1 and approve the proposed Old Kansas Avenue LLC final site plan.
Mr. Elam, thank you very much. Questions for staff? Seeing none. Mr. Crady?
Thank you.
Assume you've been sworn in.
I've been sworn in. Morris Crady for the record, senior partner with Lucido and Associates. We are in agreement with staff recommendation of approval. It's a pretty simple project, industrial storage yard surrounded by industrial uses between two highways. So with that, we'll be glad to answer any questions. I do have our engineer, Pat LeConte, here if you have any questions regarding engineering. Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? This is quasi-judicial public, or quasi-judicial item number 1, request for final site plan approval for the Old Kansas Avenue LLC 0038-004. Seeing no one from the public, back to the board. Any further questions for staff? If not, we'll take a motion.
Move staff's recommendation.
Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Elam, thank you.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, thank you. Next item up is department item number 1, Office of Management Budget. Ms. Manning, good morning. Usually it's good afternoon.
Yeah, usually it's afternoon, definitely. Good morning, Commissioners. I am lucky today. I have 3 items on the agenda. And, oops, let's see if we can get it. Tony's going to help me out here. Okay. All right, so the first item on the agenda is permission to accept the Florida Division of Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Grant for MacArthur Boulevard. This is a modification number 1. They're adding an additional $1.6 million, and this is for the elevation of MacArthur Boulevard again, and the matching dollars are programmed. Item number 2 is also a permission to accept the Florida Division of Emergency Management Hazard Mitigation Grant. This is modification 4, and it's for Phase 1. The current one was for Phase 2. This is added an additional $109,000, and the matching dollars are also programmed. The final item is permission to accept a budget resolution to allocate funds for debt service payoff. During our FY21 fund balance, we allocated residual funds to pay off 2 debt service. Those debt services for the EOC campus, the boat ramp, and dune restoration that we borrowed for some time ago. And so all we need to do is just allocate it to the debt service funds. And we're going to be saving approximately, roughly $100,000. And this is about the fifth loan that we've paid off for fiscal year 2022. That concludes my presentation.
Great. Anybody from the public wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, back to the board.
I'll move approval.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
Ms. Manning, thank you. I believe that brings us to the end of our agenda. Commissioner Jenkins, anything for the end of the day? Oh, you can do it.
October 11th, we're having an event at Doc Myers Park, which I should have wrote down before I got here. It's a fundraiser for the Women's Club. So we hung the banner across US 1 or Bridge Road the other day, and so please attend.
That's today?
No, this Saturday.
Saturday, okay.
Just coming Saturday.
Saturday, yeah. What did I say?
You said October 11th.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
So, actually, no, it's the Saturday after. I should just kept my mouth shut. Forget I said that.
No.
No. So there's an event at Doc Myers Park on Saturday.
Yes.
Whatever the day is.
Yes.
Do you have a time, generally speaking?
I don't.
You don't? Okay, I shouldn't have
I
asked.
believe it starts at 9 to 4. It's a little car show, some vendor tents, and some activities.
Great.
And we always have fun.
The banner's still up?
Banner's still up, and I'll have more information next time we get together.
Or everybody driving underneath will be able to see.
Yes, yes.
Fantastic.
And I hung that up myself, so yeah, that was fun.
I'm sure there's a liability issue involved in that, but hey.
Actually, our new banner poles was like that.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm not so sure that.
My daughter saw you hanging that up.
Did she?
She says, I could have sworn I saw Commissioner Jenkins on Bridge Road doing some work. I said, not
Then
surprising.
She must have said it couldn't be, because why would a commissioner be up there on a?
No, she figured that if it was Jenkins, it was definitely him.
It was, those poles are actually make it very easy. Yeah, so, yeah, I would
Risk
recommend.
analysis with all that involved with the commissioner client.
Yeah.
Doing that.
Well, no, I had a guy in it, but I was on the ground.
Oh, okay, good, super. Anyway, Commissioner Heatherington.
When we're announcing, it's not in my district, but we have the rodeo this weekend, Friday and Saturday. So I think it starts at 7 p.m. Indiantown Timer Powers Park.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I guess I should have said something about that, too.
Commissioner Campy.
You can give that, that's actually still, is Timer Powers Park, I believe, is still in my district.
Oh,
Maybe
I
not.
don't think so.
I don't think so. Whatever.
It never
He
was.
took everything. He's basically, District 3 is, the whole county's going to be District 3 soon enough. There was a comment made this morning that did cause me to think of a question for our staff. Could you get back to us with, when we did negotiate a settlement with Brightline, we did talk about extensive fencing as one of the benefits that we were going to get. Can we get an update on where that fencing, like the progress of, I know they've been working on crossings and doing all sorts of other changeovers to double track it. I have seen some new fencing, but if we could have an update, it doesn't have to be an agenda item, but just if you could come back to the board with how they're progressing with that fencing. Thank you.
Yes. Would you like, yes, we'll bring that back to you. The fencing is required in there. There's certain time limits on when they have an ability to build the fencing along with some other provisions, and I think we can give you an abbreviated summary of all the conditions of our settlement, which also included a crossing, an aerial crossing, which they would contribute funds, not pay for it 100%. But the fencing was 100% on them, up to, I believe, is $1 million. But we have to collaborate with them on the location.
I get the bigger, expensive things are going to take more time, but as they start to test the rail at a much higher speed, creates dangers that a fence would assist and, protect from. So if the fencing, which is reasonable, it's not a gigantic process, if that can be something that as they start to speed these trains up, getting the fencing a couple years from now versus getting the fencing sooner, I would like to see it sooner.
I would add, the last time I had a conversation with staff about this, we were waiting to see what fencing they were required to put in by Federal Rail and then use our negotiated up to $1 million to supplement. And so that's what I know that, I can only think of engineering. Public Works, that's what Public Works is looking at.
We can have that conversation for another day. Commissioner Hurd.
I'm set.
So I do have some more information that just magically
hot off
dropped
the
in my
press.
my lap. So it's called the Hometown Festival. Had that right. It's October 22nd. It's to benefit the Hopestown Women's Club, and it's from 10 to 4 at Doc Myers Park, and it's always a blast.
So it's not this weekend.
No, it's not.
It's the following weekend. So if
Following
you're
weekend.
planning to go this weekend,
Yeah,
do
don't
not,
go.
or you'll be early.
Don't go. Well, you'll play soccer there, I guess, or something. Yeah.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
For all that. I'm all set, Commissioner. Commissioner. Mr. Donaldson?
Just adding on to Ms. Manning, who brought, which is seemingly a minor item, I just want to thank her for her diligence in always hunting down old debts that we can pay off and free up reoccurring funds for our budget. And she's already identified some more that we hope to do this next year. So just wanted to thank her and her staff for her hard work of continuing to make Martin County a fiscally conservative organization.
Great. Ms. Woods?
Yes, sir. Thank you.
9:05, 9:05. We are at 10:20. Anybody from the public wish to comment at the end of the day, because this will be our 5:05. Seeing none, we are adjourned.